What is money? Dollars, yen, crypto, stocks. We spend our lives working for it, saving it, investing it, worrying about it. Yet how often do we stop to ask, what are we really dealing with here? What is this thing that controls our lives? Money isn't just paper or numbers on a screen. It's power, control in its purest form. And if you're not in control of it, someone else is. So, who's pulling the strings? The government? The banks? Or is it something or a group of people we rarely even think about? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on that group. The money changers. The sneaky, deceitful force that throughout history has shaped money into their choice war weapon. Let's go back to where it all started. Ancient civilizations traded grain for cloth, sheep for wine. But gold soon became the standard, scarce, durable, and powerful. For thousands of years, it symbolized wealth and status. But what happens when that power falls into the wrong hands? Even then, money wasn't just a tool for trade. It became a tool for control. And what did Jesus think of these manipulators? He scolded the money changers, a warning that echoes through history. Then Jesus entered the temple and drove out all who were selling and buying in the temple. He then overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who sold doves. It is written, "My house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a den of robbers."
Stop making my father's house a marketplace!
These money changers, these manipulators of currency, have been around since ancient times. Sneaky, deceitful, and willing to corrupt for profit and power. Jesus himself saw them for what they were and threw them out, calling them robbers. But that wasn't the end. Fast forward a few centuries, and the money changers would adapt, evolving with the times, always finding new ways to consolidate power and enslave. By the medieval period, the money changers had taken on quite a new form as goldsmiths, trusted to hold the people's gold for safekeeping. They began issuing paper receipts as proof of deposit, IOUs that could be traded as if they were real currency. But then they noticed something. People rarely redeemed all their gold at once. The money changers saw an opportunity. They started issuing more paper receipts than they had in gold reserves, lending out borrowed gold that didn't even exist and charging interest on it. This was the birth of what we now call fractional reserve banking, a system that allowed them to profit off of imaginary assets, turning trust into a tool for profit. Sounds familiar, right? Fractional reserve banking isn't complicated by chance. It's designed to keep citizens in the dark while concentrating power among the few. And the worst part, nothing has changed. It's only gotten worse. In 1694, England was broke. Desperate after decades of war, the money changers, only growing stronger and more ambitious, offered the government a way out, but at a price. That price was the creation of the Bank of England, the first official central bank, a foothold that would allow them to wield power over a nation's money supply. And so they succeeded, and their best scam was birthed. Rumor, both then and now, suggests that this deal ran deeper than mere finance. It's said that in exchange for bailing out the monarchy, they negotiated something even more insidious: a connection to the royal bloodline itself, ensuring their influence was woven into the highest levels of power. You may have heard whispers of the Rothschild dynasty, a name that would soon become synonymous with this type of influence, spreading its reach across nations. But for the purpose of this story, we'll keep our focus on the money changers as a collective, a force that has resurfaced time and time again, shaping systems from the shadows. For those interested, the Rothschilds' role is very much worth investigating. The Bank of England wasn't about economic stability. It was about embedding a private financial system that guaranteed unprecedented control and power to a select few. It became the blueprint for central banks worldwide, setting the stage for a new kind of power, one that operated quietly, behind the scenes, pulling the strings of debt and war. The money changers had succeeded. They had placed money, and therefore power, into the hands of their chosen few. From that point on, the money changers controlled England, and soon, the world. America was supposed to be different, a break from old world control. But the money changers followed. Early in the nation's history, Alexander Hamilton, a man some called a double agent and a rat, pushed for a national bank, claiming it would bring stability. Same story as the Bank of England. But others, like Thomas Jefferson, saw it as corruption, a betrayal of America's independence. Jefferson warned that private control over currency was a slippery slope to tyranny. And I sincerely believe, with you, that banking establishments are more dangerous than standing armies, and that the principle of spending money to be paid by posterity under the name of funding is but swindling futurity on a large scale. The first bank was defeated, and so was the second, thanks to the relentless efforts of Andrew Jackson. But, of course, the money changers didn't quit easily. No one fought harder against them than Jackson himself.
You come to the President of the United States to plead for a bloodsucker.
Mr. President, Congress has voted to retain the National Bank.
And I have vetoed that bill.
But only Congress has the authority to charter a bank for government deposits.
And I have the authority to veto it. And if they vote for it again, I'll veto it again. I'm removing all government deposits and putting them in the local banks.
Well, there'll be a panic.
A bank monopoly will not threaten this government devil take it. Not while I'm president.
He knew that the true sovereignty meant controlling your own currency. When he dismantled the second bank, the money changer's second attempt at control, he called it his greatest accomplishment. Listen to a man who saw the money changers for what they truly were, a den of vipers, a corrupt force bent on manipulating the wealth of a nation. He spoke with conviction of someone who understood their schemes deeply, and he didn't mince words. In fact, his words echoed the earlier words of Jesus we mentioned. Gentlemen, I've had men watching you for a long time, and I am convinced that you have used the funds of the bank to speculate in the breadstuffs of the country. When you won, you divided the profits amongst you, and when you lost, you charged it to the bank. You tell me that if I take the deposits from the bank and annul its charter, I shall ruin 10,000 families. That may be true, gentlemen, but that is your sin. Should I let you go on, you will ruin 50,000 families, and that would be my sin. You are a den of vipers and thieves. But what did the money changers do once they finally succeeded after his death? They put him on the $20 bill. A slap in the face to a man who fought against their control. These people aren't just dirty, they're arrogant, vengeful, and prideful. By the time of the Civil War, America found itself once again at the mercy of the money changers. Years of economic instability and reliance on private banking had entrenched their influence deeply into the nation's financial systems. Their reach was extensive. Their tactics tested. War was a familiar opportunity for them, one that ensured both profit and control as nations plunged into debt to finance the cost of conflict. But Lincoln did something radical. He issued greenbacks, a currency backed by the US government itself, bypassing the need for private bank loans. This allowed him to fund the war without sinking the nation into crippling debt to these financial powers. A leader stood up and said, "We don't need you." Lincoln's move was a direct challenge to the financial establishment, cutting off their chances to profit from both sides. But was it a coincidence that Lincoln was assassinated? Some believe not. This wasn't the first, nor would it be the last time, that a leader who dared to defy these powers met an untimely end, a warning for anyone who tries to break free of the money changers' grip. Understand this: war isn't tragedy, it's a business model. Every conflict, every drop of bloodshed is a transaction. They don't care which side wins, only that both sides are funded. that nations fall deeper into debt and that power remains in their hands. This is business as usual, a strategy refined over centuries, crafted to maximize profit and subjugate entire nations. And if you think this strategy is confined to the past, look closer. They do it today, in every major conflict, with the same disregard for human life, the same cold indifference to suffering. People are just collateral in a game where power and profit are the only goals. Which brings us to 1910, the infamous Jekyll Island meeting. By now, the money changers have already tried twice to seize control of America's finances. This was their third attempt, and this time, they were determined not to fail. Behind closed doors, away from the eye of the public, some of the most powerful bankers and financiers in the world gathered to lay their plans. These men, J.P. Morgan, Paul Warburg, and others, designed a central banking system that would appear to be a government institution, yet operate as a private entity. They knew the public wouldn't accept a system overly controlled by banks, so they disguised it in plain sight. Leading up to 1913, they had carefully engineered financial crises, panics that left the public fearful and vulnerable, primed to accept any solution that promised stability. This was manipulation at its finest, a trap set over decades, with each crisis driving the public deeper into the grasp of the money changers. The Federal Reserve was born, sold to Americans as a safeguard for economic stability. But from that moment on, America's money and America's debt was in the hands of private bankers. And now that the Federal Reserve was in place, the real scam begins. The Fed was given the power to print money, but not for free. Every dollar printed came with interest, a perpetual debt America would never be able to escape. Imagine that. The very institution responsible for creating money was also charging the nation interest on it. From that day, the cycle of debt was locked in. The American people became enslaved. It's a scam so blatant that anyone paying attention can see it. But here's why it works. They keep us distracted, entertained, weighed down by everyday struggles. War, death, despair. It's all good business for the money changers. Bread and circuses, even better. As long as we're struggling or distracted, few will ever question the system that keeps us in chains. They know that as long as people are busy trying to survive or too distracted to think, few will ever stop to question the system keeping them in chains. They don't stop there. The entire system, economics, banking, taxation, is convoluted by design, intentionally tangled in layers of jargon and red tape. It's built to keep the truth buried, discouraging even the most determined from unraveling it. They control the money, the debt, and by extension, us. This is about freedom. As long as the money changers control debt, they control our lives. Each dollar issued, each loan and crisis only tightens the chains a little more. They've crafted a system designed to be inescapable. Debts pile up, interest compounds, and the nation sinks deeper. The Federal Reserve was never a solution. It was the money changers' ultimate victory, a rigged game where we bear the burden. As mentioned, the money changers don't stop with banking. They've mastered the art of war. Mayor Amschel Rothschild himself said, "Give me control of a nation's money supply, and I care not who makes its laws." History shows they have funded both sides of conflicts for centuries. It's good business, lending to both sides, no matter who wins, while nations bleed. Prosperity has been seen wherever usury and debased coins are eliminated. Whether dictators or saints, from Hitler to Gaddafi, history shows that when you rid yourself of the money changers, you thrive. And when you defy them, you die. They don't care about your motives, only that you adopt their system. War, chaos, it's all good for them. So, here we are today. Money isn't backed by gold or silver, just thin air. Every dollar we earn is debt. Debt owed to a private system that keeps us compliant, working harder with less. This isn't stability, it's control. Plain and simple. Now we see new forms of money. Crypto, Bitcoin. It feels like freedom, a chance to escape the system. But we should be cautious. Just as fiat currency was corrupted, so can crypto. It's meant to be decentralized, controlled by the public. But remember, the money changers are sneaky vermin. They do not play by the rules. Could crypto be the next financial revolution, or just another tool for control? Throughout history, money has been more than a means of exchange. In the hands of a few, it becomes a tool for manipulation, a way to pull strings from the shadows while entire nations struggle under the weight of invisible chains. And most of us, we're just trying to survive, unaware that something far deeper controls the world around us. Remember, this isn't just about dollars or coins. It's about freedom. The freedom to live without someone else's hand controlling the balances of our lives. History's greatest minds knew this well. Jesus, Aristotle, Aquinas, Jefferson, Madison. Their voices echo through time, warning us against the dangers of usury and the unchecked powers of those who shape our economies. What I'm saying isn't radical, it's history, hidden in plain sight. So, ask yourself, who truly holds the power? And more importantly, what are you going to do about it? Share this video. It's time people started asking the right questions.